navigating all of the things as a wannabe pretend business owner and person of the world that we live in today.
Yeah, pretend is the key word there.
Yeah, like I have no idea what I'm doing, like all the time, constantly,
every day.
Like it's kind of silly if you think about it.
Which is crazy how the mind works. Because if like I sit here, I'm like I don't know what to work on. I don't know what to do. It doesn't seem like anything works. Should I just like flounder? I don't even feel like working out. I don't feel like doing anything. I probably just want to go hide in a cave somewhere. And the second somebody's like comes up and is like, what should I do with my life? I'm like, I have a fucking clear answer for you.
Well, let me tell you some things. Yeah, dude, too easy.
It's too easy. Too easy to give other people advice.
that I absolutely will not take. Especially if it's coming from me, because I know how unreliable I am. Like, I can't trust this fucking guy. He's an idiot.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm a ridiculous human being, but I think everybody is ridiculous as well. So
I think that's the secret. It's just like the overall absurdity, and we I don't know, have some illusion that it's supposed to make sense, right? I think that's the problem, is we're operating from this false premise of like, yeah, no, we should know, and we should have all these answers, and like, no, it's kind of the point that you don't, and then you figure it out anyway. I don't know.
I think I want to go back. I think that the only difference is I want to go back to a time where I believe that somebody had it figured out. I think that's the only difference between childhood and adulthood, is that you're under the illusion that somebody has an answer or somebody has a plan or that it's going to be okay. And adulthood is recognizing that nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. And then you go back to your children and you lie to them, because it's not you're not being malicious. You're quite literally just wanting them to hold that state for as long as possible. Just like, remember this moment that you are under the illusion that all of this is controlled.
Dude, is that the forbidden fruit? The knowledge? Dude, that was the fall, as we realized, like, oh crap, now I know. Like there's this idea that ignorance is bliss, right? And to a degree it really is. And it's not that the knowledge itself is bad, it's just heavy. And so it's like, hey, you primitive creatures, you might not be ready for this smoke yet, right? So don't eat the fruit over here on this tree, because you're gonna die, figuratively, not literally. And like, man, when the weight of your world kind of comes down on you, of like, wait, I got to figure all this out. No one has the answers. It's not simple and easy. It kind of feels like dying a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. In my perspective, business, like being a business owner, is commodifying that feeling to people.
Ooh.
Right? So they have a problem and you act like you have the answer. And you tell them the feeling of thinking that you have the answer. And in some cases, the answer, however narrow or limited, that is a good business, right? Like think about, for instance, I don't know, let's take like a super successful business. Take like Tesla, right? I have a Tesla. Like I own a Tesla. I love it. I didn't have this question personally, but obviously there's a lot of people who are like, what do I do about petroleum in the world? And then they like provided this amazing electric car. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's fast, it looks good, it's comfortable, it's basically automated. I mean, I email the whole way home in the carpool lane. I just hit the button and I literally just like stack email after email. And sometimes I'm kind of freaked out because I'll get home and I'll be like, I looked up like twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I could like, but what's the difference? Somebody could have sideswiped me, whether I'm doing an email or whatever. It's about the same odds. And then I feel good. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to pay like, I don't know, $900 a month for this fucking car that's like a robot. And it makes me feel a certain way about the world. Mm-hmm. And also true, it changed nothing, right? We're still using petroleum to power these fucking things. It got rid of nothing. I just actually leveraged a different part of the grid. It still uses tires. It still causes, crowd pollution and traffic. Like it literally changed nothing. But I paid twice as much for it, and I feel good about it. Like I feel like I made a responsible decision. And that, like in the end, it's like I could drive a fucking red wagon with a motor on it. It would be the same thing.
It would change. Well, other than, I mean, and I don't know if this is relative to the point, but like it does gain you something where there's an efficiency, right, of productivity that is increased because now you can do emails on a time that you would otherwise be occupied fighting for your life.
Wait, you mean I can work more and I paid to work more?
Bingo. What a deal, man. That's the ultimate business hack. Man, like this is why you and I aren't billionaires, because we haven't figured out how to get people coming and going.
I talk about this all the time with one of my clients, Ben. Ben's a insanely successful fighter pilot. Like, is like one of the most experienced. He's flown F-22s. He still trains people. He's out of the Air Force, but he still trains people on these platforms and does education on. So he still flies fighter jets for a living, right? Like, and when I heard that, I was like, oh fuck, dude, that's awesome. And he was like, why? And I was like, well, it's like fast. And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's like an air taxi. He's like, I just, instead of delivering people, I deliver bombs, which I guess that's cool, but sometimes not. He put in perspective, and I was like, God, I guess it's not that cool. But all these people are trying to do this one thing that he gets to do. And he's like, no, man, it's like, I don't even want to do it. I was good at it. So that's what I fell into. And it really irks me sometimes to see people that like their dream is to do this job because I feel ungrateful. But he's like, it's not that cool, man. It's really not. And we talk about this idea all the time about this, like, it's like a middle class, he has a word for it, but it's like a middle class grievance problem. Where like, I've been talking about this a little bit. The article that I just wrote has a little bit to do with this, about becoming a striver or like being a striver. Like I think, when you go from poor and you don't want to be poor anymore, you aim your trajectory up, which means I start playing this game of trying to like acquire, let's call it resources, which in actual economic theory, money is only one of them. But then you have like, networks and influence and, there's like four of them. I can't remember the fourth one, but essentially you have like these are your resources and you try to leverage to get more resources, right? And you're like, that's the whole game you play. And we can admit, and everybody says this, everybody who's successful says this, minus a couple people, which are probably the most honest ones, but everybody's like, nah, man, money doesn't make you happy. And like, it's not about that. And you're like, yet 99% of us strivers know this, acknowledge it, and then aim for it anyway. Like we will not take no for an answer. We're like, no, I need, and I know I'm like, I'm not actually aiming for the dollar bill, but I am aiming for the stuff and the experiences that the dollar bill buys. And therefore I get locked in this trajectory. And he's like, it is a fucking trap. And because I aimed my trajectory, I start like looking at all the stuff that is represented in, let's call it that demographic. And I don't need it. And it's not going to change how I feel. It's not going to make me happy, but I want it regardless. Now, I'm not a watch person. I don't care. Like, I know there's like some people who have like they're obsessed with like timepieces. I have a fucking Whoop and a Garmin from like 2008. Like, I don't give a shit. But I also get it, right? So like I get a lot on my feed about watches because I think they're like cool when they're made cool. But I'll like see a bunch of timepieces that are like, I don't know, $100,000, or like, check out this watch. This one is like blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, oh man, that'd be cool to be able to have that one day. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong? I don't even want that. Right. And then there's some reason my feed is mostly Porsches, mostly. And that's not even my favorite car, but there is something about the Porsche GT3 RS that is like a symbol of the striver, right? It's just like it represents something because it's not the most expensive car, it's not the fastest, it's not the what. But if you have one, you're like, that fucking guy made it.
Yeah.
Right. So you aim for that, but you know that does you no good. So you're in this like fucking middle class trap. And this is what Ben always talks about. He's just, man, I just like bought these fucking clothes. I'm gonna take them back. Or he keeps buying things and then turning because he always comes back to like, why I keep doing this thing? Why can't I just like aim for better experiences, all the stuff that gets me better experiences without being sold something? And I think the reality of it is that same notion that we want to go back to a time when we think the world is certain outside of our experience. And I think we think that the answer to that is money.
Well,
right.
We're looking for a symbol, right? We want something tangible that signifies that level of safety and security, right? If I just have the symbol that represents this thing both to myself and others, then everything is going to be fine, right? It's the reason why aesthetics matter, that people want to look strong, right?
Yeah.
Because they if I look a certain way, then I'll feel a certain way, and it will mean that I have strove. I've stroved to do these things. And again, what we're missing is we're such a symbolic culture, right? It's why we developed language, because we need some way to represent an idea and a feeling. So we scribbled down on. So first we made mouth sounds, right? And then that wasn't sufficient enough. So because we forget, then we scribbled it down on stuff. And then we've done that for so long, we think that the scribbling and the mouth sound is the thing. And so we forget that, like, well, no, it was the process with which you developed that body, or the process with which you earned the money to buy the watch or the car that represents that aesthetic, that is actually the genuine article. And the security is within you. We just forget that. So we need the outside tangible thing that we can look at, because you can't see inside your own self.
You said something that, like, originally that just like kind of made me laugh, because I think I obviously obsessively love things that are made a certain way. And for the first time, I usually just thought this, like, yeah, I'm a high quality person. But in reality, I'm an insecure person that wants to know that I have control over something. Such fine control that it's finely made. Like that's maybe what the like watch gears represent, is this fine tuning of the, like, it's a miniature world.
It's so precise
that I can fine tune to get that sensation of control. So I get that sensation of being a child again, where everything is taken care of inside this miniature world. And in a Porsche, it's the most unreliable car on the planet. The least certain car you could probably get, unless you have like a German auto mechanic that lives in your house, which, I would argue I would probably take on a brother husband if that was the case. But
sure.
In this case, you're like, that what's represented by the the leather and the stitching and the exactness and the precision is just a world that I can get into and travel. Like, it's almost like a protective cocoon. I'm in this perfectly German engineered world that has certainty, at least for the next 20 miles. And I will pay $700,000 to have that sensation of certainty, even though there is no certainty. It's a total illusion. It's an abstraction from actual certainty. In fact, I'm driving a very fast car that is probably going to get hit by a semi accidentally.
Well, and that's really all that we're ever doing. Like, all of the stuff that I'm doing is just living out some kind of Hobbit fantasy with my friends, right? Where we can go pretend to be weirdos. Well, we're not pretending to be weirdos, but we can be weird in the woods and walk around barefoot, right? In this fantasy land, because it gives me some sense of like joy and pleasure and security that the world is this beautiful, simple, magical place that I can wrap myself in a cocoon of like campfires and snacks. And everything's great.
The pretend part is I said the pretend part is thinking that it's better than or less than any other person's fantasy land.
Yes.
But realistically, also, like, I mean, everything is kind of just a projection of fantasy. It gets like, and if I think of it that way, it doesn't help, right? Like if I remove all of the abstraction and I come down to what the world is, I think actually the world gets worse. So it's some level in between recognizing reality, which I just heard this quote the other day and I fucking loved it, is that reality is undefeated.
It wins every time.
Yeah, every fucking time reality wins. But it kind of doesn't, because if you use like total logic and reality as your guiding light or whatever, I think you quickly move nowhere. Because the reality is that you're going to be dead, and it might be dead sooner than later, and therefore, what is the fucking point?
It's also a really flawed cosmology, I think, because it's limited. Like when you limit everything to logic and let's just say like a material understanding of things, it doesn't encapsulate everything. We haven't figured it out. Like that model breaks down, and so you're actually limiting yourself. It's restrictive and like you said, like pretty pessimistic. At the end of the day, we're going to write. Our brain is going to tell some narrative. That's how it communicates. We exist in story. It's just a matter of like, what story do you want to tell? And now it doesn't make my fantasy superior to yours. If you want to live in this like finely tuned, technological, precise, steampunk machination, whatever. I just inserted steampunk just for shits and giggles. That might not be your vibe, but
I could get into it.
Whatever.
like a rendition of Abraham Lincoln with a Gatling gun or something like that, with like copper pipes coming out of his head and he's kind of half cyborg. I like that shit.
Yeah, see, like that's not, inherently better or worse than my rustic, primitive hobbit niche.
Yeah, kind of let's call it a Lewis and Clark aesthetic.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. I dig that. I don't know why it appeals to me, but it does. And it doesn't, it's not good or bad. It really kind of comes down to, am I going to be completely isolated? I think that where the fantasy can break down is your fantasy so limited in scope that no one else can join in on it? Because if no one else can come to play, then it falls apart, because you can't create a fantasy world by yourself, at least not for long. It shatters.
The whole lone wolf thing is a fantasy in its own right. That apocalyptic Will Smith walking around hunting zombies kind of deal. Mm-hmm. But it does break down. And I'm, to be quite honest, I'm like somebody who has an unnatural talent for probably interacting with human beings, but I actually don't really like it. Like I don't like other people for the most part. Realistic. I mean, because honestly, like if I said, I'll put it this way so I don't sound like a fucking misanthrope, but just by statistics, I think I am. Which is, if if I tried, 100 foods and I only liked one of them, right? You'd be like, oh man, that guy's a picky eater and he doesn't really like eating, or he doesn't like food or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I would say actually my statistics are worse. I think less than 1 in 100 people I actually can tolerate. And I mean tolerate. Less than probably 1 in 1,000 I actually like, and less than probably 10 to 100,000 I want to be around, right?
Yeah,
for sure. And those are like being really generous, because in reality, man, there's like 6 people that I like talking to, and I've met thousands and thousands of people. So you're like, just take the demographics. Now, what does that mean for what I should do? Well, it means I have to probably pretend a lot. to get through life. So I'm on the side that, like, man, I have kind of a loner fantasy, but I know that it's harmful in the end. It won't get me kind of what I need, because in the end, you need, people, which makes me sound almost like it almost sounds like an opportunist to some degree.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, and you can spin pretty much anything and make it sound like whatever. I don't think that is necessarily the case. I I have never gotten the impression that you are like using people as a means to an end, right? Like I have seen you at work in your element, and even out of your element, and like there is a sincerity with which you do want to help people, which means you do care about them. I think what you're really good though is discerning when and where and how much someone may or may not be aligned with you and your goals. In which case, and when they're not, then yeah, you don't have the incentive to like be super tolerant of them beyond what you can do in this small space to help them. And I don't think that paints you as a villain, in my opinion.
Isn't that the very kind of definition? And I'm not saying this is wrong or bad. I think people look at it bad, but that's transactional relationships. But I would side that in the past, like, I would have been disgusted with myself for even saying this probably like 5 or 6 years ago about like, that I think relationships are transactional. I just think that we don't want to do the math. Like, I don't think we want to really like honestly do the stuff. But when you really think about it, you're like, you could have a friend from childhood, right? That like, man, you guys got along so good and like everything was fine and like good experiences and like they helped you with stuff and you helped them with stuff and there was no tally. Nobody's keeping track. But let's say, you get a career and your job starts paying pretty well and they kind of slip off a different end. And then they start maybe like partying too much or drinking too much and they fall into some trouble. And at first, man, they're your boy. Like you'll bail them out of jail. You'll do like, the normal thing that a friend would do. But at some point, there's an imbalance where you're like, dude, I've done this enough. And it's not that you dislike that person. It's just that the transactions have gone into the negative. Like now you have more negative experiences than positive, and that becomes not worth it, right?
You can take the positive and negative even out of the equation and just simply reduce it to like, it's a bandwidth issue, right? There's only so much bandwidth of attention any one human being can give. And there's a nice little graphic or chart or something that exists somewhere. And if I come across it, I might share it with you. But it talks about different kind of relationships and which ones are, there's certain ones that are transactional, there's certain ones that are opportunistic. And then, at the very bottom of the chart is unconditional. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like you love this person, you care for this person, no matter what. And there's nothing that they can do to change that. And we feel that, I think, hopefully with our spouse, certainly with our children. We see that with our pets. Like Lambert loves you guys unconditionally. There's nothing you could do to not make him love you, right? And to expect us to do that with every single human that we encounter is kind of asking a lot. There's 8 billion people on here, man. Like my brain can't parse that much data.
That describes one of the problems with social media, because everybody's trying to get you to care about their thing. And there's just too much to be cared about and not enough that you can't pay somebody to care. It's like one of the most deeply energetic, costly things is to care about something. Even if I pay somebody thousands and thousands of dollars, they can't care. That is crazy. So there is some non-monetary represented like energetic exchange that's happening that I think is interesting, that you're like, but I still do think that there's like, almost in every case, there is a balance sheet. And the children and spouse thing is interesting because, you think you have a lot of love for your, spouse until you have kids and you go, oh shit, like that's a new level.
That's real love, yeah.
Right. And you would say that it's unconditional, but man, dude, I've seen some shitty kids turn into terrible human beings. And it does start to, maybe you always quote unquote love them, but there's a point after, I don't know, they're sociopathically murdering people or becoming, they're a strain on the system. This is kind of, here's what's weird about Lord of the Rings, talk about fantasy, or not Lord of the Rings, sorry, about Game of Thrones. right? Cersei Lannister is representative of unconditional love. She is a divine feminine source of love for her children that are absolute fucking bastards. Right? She goes to the end of the earth and people see her as a evil, but what the book was representing is actually this is what unconditional love looks like. Is that really what you think is good?
Is that ideal? Is that
right?
Yeah.
To have unconditional love? You mean after your kids turn into miniature terrorists and murder or cause genocide, you still want to love and protect them? You're like, man, that is crazy.
There was one guy who did that. But I mean, that's a pretty high bar that he set, right? Like what you're talking about is like, well, from a, call it theological standpoint, God would serve in that role potentially, depending on how you characterize and view God. Some people, individual results may vary, but like, if we have this idea of God being unconditional love, cool. But guess what? I'm not him. Like neither are you. And so like, that's a high expectation for any of us to have. So I think we do have to have a realistic understanding. And then the goal is like, okay, well, how close can I get to that without annihilating myself? And this is the tension, because you can't be God, but it also isn't going to, I don't think the purpose is to just not give a shit about anybody at all either. Somewhere in between, what's the maximum amount that I can care without destroying my own self in the process? Because I could give away everything I own, right? I could give every ounce of flesh of myself to any person who asks it, and there'll be nothing left. That's not better, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, this is the argument of why there is no such thing as inherent good or inherent evil, even in the cosmology, having a deity like an all-powerful knowing entity, like a god or something like that, is because essentially, you're saying like that is the archetype, right? Like the archetype is to just create and let things become their own and make their own decisions and just love them no matter what they do. Like that's the blueprint, but the blueprint obviously makes a poorer society, right? So what we're looking at is like, here's the argument against it, or argument I would say that, I used to use in like an atheistic sense, which is like, if what you're saying is true, and that is what we're all aiming for, but you just described that unconditional love is self-destructive, did God destroy himself and therefore doesn't exist anymore?
I mean, he certainly sacrificed himself, if you believe the biblical story, right? Like he absolutely literally destroyed himself. But I think, that it brings up some really fun and interesting, like existential concepts of like, man, coming in and out of existence. And it's like, man, is that what existence is? Is God just, creating and annihilating himself over and over again? And we're just part of that experience. And eventually, man, it's going to collapse on itself, and then boom, it explodes and repeats again.
What's the biggest shift that you've made in your, let's say, in your metaphysics of like what you think the universe is, or what your place is in it in the last like 10 years? What's like, what's the thing where you're like, man, I didn't think that before, but now I'm kind of leaning this way?
I think, and obviously psychedelics, I think, had a huge influence on this, because it's kind of what it does, right? It gives you this level of connectedness to everything that I don't think I had felt before. And there was like such a distinct, just complete hard line between what I thought I am and what I thought everything else was, including God and the universe and everything. Like it was very, very separate. And I think my metaphysical, we'll call it an understanding, but I really don't understand shit. My working, basis of ideology is that they are both one and the same, and it's in two sides of the same coin, right? There's a kind of a non-duality type notion of like, it isn't either or, it's yes and. And so I am just a fractal of God or the universe or consciousness that is experiencing itself from a limited, human perspective.
Yeah, interesting. So you basically had a collapse on the integrated theory that like divinity is actually embedded into everything. And funny enough, I think that is a psychedelia phenomenon.
Yep.
Where the integration theory comes in, and that's where a lot of things kind of lead towards animism, which is like there's a state of consciousness in everything, every particle, every atom, which, to be fair, makes the most logical sense.
Right.
That consciousness is kind of like a concentration of as it were, of like particles or energy.
Well,
or
matter is really a concentration of consciousness. It's
exactly.
a condensed, right? Like the material world is just consciousness. You could say slowed down. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can get super sciencey and nerdy and quantum physics with it, but and again, who knows? We're just choosing a story, and so
totally,
as I get more information, my story is evolving, and I'm applying the parts that I like the most. Like,
so did you notice, like, did it help you? Like, did that story improve your experiences?
I think so. Yeah. I think it allowed me to operate with a lot more grace. Honestly, for myself. I mean, for other people, sure, right? Because it allowed me to see myself in everyone. Like, oh, you're just me. And the reason why this thing about you pisses me off is because it's a thing that I don't want to see in myself, and that's why it irks me so bad. So, the reason why I don't actually hate you, I hate that there's a feature in me that is reflected through you, right?
Yeah, that's the Jungian shadow, or the archetypical. Yeah.
So I think that was a big piece of it. I think also it kind of gave me some existential peace that like none of this really matters because it's just a game, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, the wave and the ocean analogy, right? That my experience right now feels like I'm separate of the ocean, and that I'm just this wave that's a singular wave all by itself, but
a temporary form. Yeah.
But I'm just I'm just the ocean in this, moment that becomes a wave and then eventually goes back to the ocean. And like, man, do you think a wave really gets worried about anything ever? Like, a wave's like, wow, man, cool, look how high I'm riding. Oh, I'm curving.
When I look at that analogy almost a little bit different, because I really do love that analogy. And I forgot the original way, but it's like, a wave forgetting that it's an ocean. But when I think about that thing and I relate it to like the human experience, I relate it to actually like, look what I'm going to do to this rock. I'm going to rise up. I'm going to be so great. Look how tall I am. I'm the greatest. Oh my God, I'm going to break this thing. And then it ends. And then you're like recessed back into the ocean. And then you're a baby again. And you're like, oh my God. And that, I would say that was probably the one thing that I've changed my cosmology on in the past 10 years was consciously thinking that there's like cycles. Like there's reincarnative cycles, and that is, and here's where I get torn with it, because I think it helped, like you said, relax and think that this is a game, because I should like reset at any time, which I don't know if that's useful, because there's sometimes when you just hit the power button and people don't like that, and there's all sorts of charity set up so that people don't hit the power button. But also it didn't help. Well, I would say where it doesn't help, and then I'll say where it does help. It also didn't help in the fact that when you describe something that is iterative, repetitive for infinity, I think that's what you would describe as hell.
Yeah.
And therefore, this is the hell in some cases. And, by all, let's call it ancient traditions or wisdom traditions, their belief is that you can escape that by enlightenment, by like going through all the cycles.
Samsara, where you just keep repeating it.
Yeah. Which is, so life is hell, actually. And that is bizarre. It's a different framework than most people are working from, where they think that this is kind of neutral ground and then you go up or down.
Yeah.
That's the Western kind of take on things, and just down being like, oh, you're punished forever for eternity. And it's like, how how is this any different? Like,
yeah, like, bro, look at the world today, man. Like, you could talk to people's experiences and you couldn't conceive anything worse than what the story that they would tell you.
Which, and also, to like the benefit from it goes, man, if this is hell, it's really an aesthetically pleasing hell sometimes. Sometimes, right? It has both sides to it. Obviously, I could look outside in the back dumpster and see a bunch of people going through it and watch the depravity of like human nature after drug abuse and you know certain situations and behaviors put them in a scenario where they're dumpster diving for meth bags or whatever. I don't even know. I never know what they're looking for. Like they're looking everywhere. They're if they used that much tenacity to like look for a job, I think it would change the world. But I look outside, I'm like, God, they're always searching. And I guess it's no different when I guess that's I see humanity outside of myself and inside of myself. I'm like, I do the same thing. It's just not illicit drugs. It's like a feeling and training.
You're just looking. Yeah.
I'm trying to get high off of writing a piece that people go, that was awesome, man. And I go, cool. I'm going to go back and like search the field for another meth bag of words that makes people feel a certain way. But I would say what the good side of this brought in is a relaxation, like a release of tension, where when I thought there was a start-stop, like when I think that it's like this one thing and then it goes away, which to be fair, 50-50, like either option could be right. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the model that I operate off of now is a continuous cycle as opposed to an A to B. And that continuous cycle relieved a tension that I go like, I have to get something done this time around. Which I think what pulled a little bit of my ambition off, but not much, which is I think the weird part. And so it just relaxed me a little bit.
I think it's a good sign though, right? Because it means the ambition isn't coming from a place necessarily of scarcity or FOMO, right? Yeah. That it's actually a true, genuine desire to do the thing, right? Which I think is far more a noble pursuit versus like, oh, I'm only working to work, right? It's like, no, man, I'm genuinely passionate about this thing. As far as the cycles and that sort of thing, I think I have this weird sensation. I don't know what else you would call it, but it's almost like, hey, whatever you want it to be, that's kind of what it is. Dude, you want to reincarnate 1 billion times? Go for it. You want to do that? You want to play the game one time and go to heaven and have this, experience? Awesome. You want to go and be tormented for all eternity? Yeah, man, knock yourself out. and I think, I believe, in the truth of eternity, where that nothing is really permanent. And at some point, there might be a little check-in and be like, hey, bud, are you done now? Like, hey, down there, have you had enough heat and pitchforks? Like, you want to come?
It's kind of like rolling in that sense, right? It's like rolling with like a superior grappler, which you're like excited about. And you're like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to like test my skill. And then 5 minutes in, you're like, I could be done right now. Like, this is enough. Like, I've had enough lessons. And he's like,
the point.
And then he yanks you back in. And then you go like 12 more rounds. And you're like, I'm really over this. That to me is the life cycle, right? I'm really excited about it until I like want to be done with it. And then it just drags me back in. I feel like I'm in a state right now that is just like, I am in the middle of rolling with somebody who's just crushing me over and over again. And I want to be done, but for whatever reason, I can't stop.
Well, because I mean, imagine rolling with, pick your favorite jiu-jitsu player that would absolutely shit can you.
No, you got it wrong. Rolling with your favorite would have some kind of like, I get to talk about this later. I'm talking about rolling with like a 350-pound black belt that literally just like, it's not fun.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's just like, I can't move and everything that I do hurts me even more. And for whatever reason, he doesn't move either. That's a different experience than like, Lucas Lepre showing you fucking sick moves for fucking your entire lifetime.
That would be really cool, man. So The only analogy that comes to my mind, because it's like, it's funny that you chose the massive awful black belt, and my mind went to like the great, your favorite practitioner.
You're an optimist.
Well, it's like, man, are you just choosing the wrong partner? Like, it's not that jujitsu is inherently bad. Are you just rolling with the wrong person?
Okay. So this actually brings me, so I can't, this is fucking terrible to admit, but you were one of the people that I was going to talk to about it. So I guess this is appropriate. I can just cut this out if it doesn't work. But I'm thinking about rebranding.
Okay.
I don't know why that popped into, I have a couple reasons why.
Okay.
One of them is that I feel like the vessel, and this is really dumb, like the brand isn't the right one yet.
Okay.
Like, it's not the right partner for me to like push. Right. And I have a couple reasons behind that. But one of them was this: I got screwed out of telling my origin story. I had to like jump and create something to hold the pieces together because of all of the other things falling apart in the other business and the litigation and all that stuff, that I kind of just went, okay, I can't talk about anything, but I'll prop this up. And I really feel like it was not my best work. Even if the stuff that it contains is the great work, I think the container sucks. Not sucks, but it's
not the best vehicle to deliver it.
It has faults in it that I don't like.
Yeah.
And the faults are really silly. Like, I'll give you one, like where the name came from. So we are all in. The name first, like I got from talking to my friend Kenton, who explained all in to me. He was like, oh, this word all in. And actually he got the definition wrong. When I looked up the definition, I was like, oh, it's even better than what he said. It's this concept from this Aztec word that is two words, but essentially its translation is both movement and transformation.
Okay.
And it's a conjugated word, yolotl and yolisli, which is like your life and your heart, which is very strange because if you take the root of courage, right? It's shifted over time, but the root of the word courage comes from core, the Latin core, which means heart.
Yeah.
And courage used to mean basically what cycles through your heart. So you work, and you could have wicked courage. It was almost like a benign statement. It was basically the programming for your action. Right? So you could be courageous in battle or have fierce courage in battle, and that would be the context, but courage was neutral. And then you could like kill a bunch of the wrong people and you would be wicked courageous because your courage is going towards a, overall negative.
Yep.
So that word, that cycle throughout human history, it just has something to do with this. And so I liked the word, but I didn't like it on its own. And I liked kind of the double entendre, the play on words, because when we say it, we say all in. Now, the we are is probably the most important context in that. The we are comes from this concept that doesn't get talked about enough, but there's a phenomenology that happens when people throughout history have written about this, and people as of recently have what they call angelic experiences, either divine experiences induced by extreme hardship or meditation or even psychedelia. And throughout history, where we would write about it in holy books, where people have an angelic experience when they're visited by angels. And angels not being like Western divinity, but I mean like angelic forces. This prevails kind of throughout.
Thousands of eyes, and
totally. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Where there's a collective that's visiting you, but singular voices.
Yep.
And so that we are has to do with that concept of that there's a singular voice, but a collective understanding.
Yeah.
Right. And then when we come together and we are this movement, that there's a collective agreement that we're moving to conform, but there's also a singular voice that can pop out and be unique.
Yeah.
And I've always thought about that and everything to do. So when I look at how I write in the past, it was always from a collective actually narrative. Like when I describe things in my manuals that I've written about, it's a we, it's a us, it's a this is what we do, this is how we feel, this is what we look at. It's a collective agreement based off of our individual experiences. But we can speak individually to express something that might be different from the group. And there was this one example of a guy who had this experience. I don't know if it's written down somewhere, but I heard it and it just like clicked, because he said when he was visited by these entities, what he found most fascinating was that it felt like kind of a conference, or what do you call it, with the birds move together, a murmur, or what is it? A murmur of birds. So he would say that one of them would come out and speak directly, and his voice was like piercing into his like heart. But then when he would like try to ease the tension and talk back to them, they would laugh collectively. And he just felt this like individual power. And so that's what I tried to instill in the name. Here's where it falls apart. I never explained that origin story. I never explained where it came from. I kind of missed it and jumped into, oh, this is what we do, and it's just a cool name, and here's some graphics. Also, what bothers me is that you don't pronounce the word all in. You do when you read it as an English speaker, but it's actually pronounced Ayin, which doesn't make any fucking sense anymore. So when I look at it, now I read it as we are Ayin, and it doesn't fucking make any sense.
Doesn't mean anything to anybody. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, my first thought, and I don't know how you'll feel about this, is that like, there's no rebranding. I mean, sure, rebrand, but like, you are the brand, so it really doesn't fucking matter what you call it, right? Like, you call yourself Michael Blevins, and that's just that's not who you are. That's just the mouth sounds we make to like communicate this general idea of you. But no one knows who that is until they actually experience what it is to be in relation with the mouth sounds that equate to Michael Blevins, which is you as a thing. So in the same respect, whatever you call the business and whatever it aesthetically looks like and sounds like on the outside, it's not that it's irrelevant. You need a symbol to use for it, but the underlying thing has never changed. Like you have evolved, but you've also never not been you. And no matter what you call this thing, it will still always be the essence of you. I think really it's just a matter of preference. I mean, there's 2 points. There's from how marketable is this, which we live in a real world and economy, and like, you know, man, if I start insisting everyone call me Sniffle Snaffle, it's not going to catch on very well, right? Like, it's just obnoxious. So it's not a very marketable thing. So Josh is a lot simpler to work with. So you have to contend with that. Do people understand it? Can they get it? Does it convey the message? But then more importantly, I think, and what you're running into is like, man, how much do you like it? Do you feel like it conveys? Because like I'm going to reveal some stuff here, but your real name is Timothy, but you don't go by that because that doesn't convey the message that you want, and I know there's a story behind that or whatever. So you go by Michael, which is perfectly fine. You could go back to Timothy, and that would be a rebrand, but it would only make sense if like there was a deep meaning for you to switch to that.
Yeah, I get, and this is totally like an unimportant thing, but this, if I really believed like in the collective voice and kind of the people that have helped build this thing, the one idea that I think I missed out on, or maybe just like scooted over, was their collective involvement in developing it. And so I also agree with you. The name is like probably unimportant. Like somebody said this to me the other day, and they were like, "Oh, this brand is cool. That name is so rad." And it was like A24 or something. And it was like, "Oh, there's a production company, I think." And I was like, "Yeah, that name isn't cool." The work that they've done has established that the name associated with that is cool. So therefore, that's perfect branding. However, when a name is cool on its own, like it confers something when it aligns. And I'll give all credit to Lisa Bouchard for this, because Jim Jones is a fucking phenomenal name.
Yeah.
Right. I would say that's like 50% of their success. Now, why is that? Like, well, because when you read it, it makes you feel a certain way. And it gets you to double take. Wait, did I just read that right? Like, and almost in a negative sense, but it doesn't matter because it anchors you to a idea, anchors you to a thought where that's why you remember it. That's what gives you a sensation. That's what builds the whole thing. So if you have a name that can accomplish that and you do good work, well, you just fucking, that's a home run. It's a fucking grand slam. And I think I've had a penchant for naming things, and sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I get it wrong. I think nonprofit was close, right? It had. I mean, nonprofit has a, you turn your head and look, and you're like, oh, it's written incorrectly, and then you kind of chuckle. So it's a second class, but it doesn't make you feel something, especially on the negative side, unless maybe you're in a Muslim country and you read it and you go, what the fuck did you say?
Wait, how dare you?
It's a little bit different, but that's obviously not the meaning or the intention, but the association with the culture that reads it is very important. So, I mean, I'll blank this out, but what made me think about changing it was I came across the name that we were going to use for a production company. And I put it out, and the guys were like, it makes me think like this. And I was like, you guys are a bunch of fucking nerds. This name is fucking awesome.
Yeah, how dare you?
And then I thought about it because I was like, well, like I don't want to force this name on anybody that isn't absolutely sold on it.
Yeah.
And so I took it back and I was like, well, what am I going to use this for? And I go, oh,
wait a minute.
Maybe it's a rebrand. And I said it as like kind of a joke. And then I couldn't sleep because I thought about all the work that was included into logos, all the stuff that we've done over the past year and a half to establish We Are OLLIN as like the app, the thing, the whatever. We'd have to literally go. I'm like, I have to rewrite all this stuff for the App Store. I have to rewrite all this stuff for Google Play. I have to rescreen pretty much every video. I have to make all new buffers. I have to do a new YouTube channel, rename everything, explain to everybody. And I was like, yeah, still seems worth it. Fuck. Right? Like, I'm like, and here's the weird thing is like, when I got through that, I was like, I don't even care if I use that as the name. What it showed me was that I wasn't sold on what I'm using on the vehicle. And that's what was concerning to me.
Yeah. I think that's the 300-pound fucking guy that you're grappling with that's kicking your ass. And it's like, man, okay, hey, that was fun. You got me. I'm gonna go roll with somebody else now. And now
maybe that name is associated with this thing that I've gone through that was very hard. And here's I'm torn a couple different ways because in a little bit, or like in a minor way, I think some of it is kind of like ADHD kicking in, and it only means something to me, or maybe I'm emotionally tied to that entity being tied up in like litigation and all of the negative context. And I want hard stop, non-association with certain people. And I think that this is one way to do that. So in one sense, the deepest reason is to help bring other people into the process, and maybe even just, I think it's interesting to like brand something, or it's interesting to come up with concepts. And I never realized that actually gives me a lot to share with people about how much I think about this stuff, or how much I do to actually create something like this. And that it's not just like a flippant, I'll put a name and an LLC together and throw like some lettering together. Yeah, it's like this takes like thousands of hours of work. And actually that process might help people understand why I think that's good. The other part of it is simply my emotional context that I refuse to get over, which I also have to process a certain way. And when I thought about it that way, I was like, man, those are two really great reasons. And the only reason not to is because I'm lazy.
Yeah. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's well, and in, I'll play devil's advocate here, and just by typical projector, mindset, because I was thinking about this, and maybe because we are so different, right? Like, I've realized that, man, so much of what I have done and what I do is in an effort to prove to myself and other people that I'm not lazy.
Yeah.
But like, actually, I am kind of lazy. And if you leave me to my own devices, I'm not going to do shit unless I want to. and I have made and I felt really bad about that for a really long time. And then I kind of started wondering, like, well, wait, who said that I have to do all these things? Like, what is the, like, it's not that I do nothing. I do things, but like this, what's this invisible line that I have to meet? And I think, the question that I would pose to you is your line of, call it productivity or lack of laziness, is that true to you and your character, or is that an arbitrary line that you have drawn because of external influences, or generators just going to generate and you just can't not do so?
Yeah, I think most. I talked to my friend about this the other day, and he was like, "Well, you can't," because I was like, "God, it's so much work," and he's like, "Yeah, but that's not the part that ever bothers you."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "You've never not done something because it's a lot of work. It gives you something to bitch about, but you do it anyway." Right.
Right.
It gives me a point to complain about it. And I thought it was like, that's an interesting insight. Because I mean, from his perspective, outside, he helps me with my printing for t-shirts.
Yep.
That's what he knows just from that perspective. Because of what he sees, like I design, and I'll like move a thing and I'll get all
He's
frustrated.
Never seen you in the gym before. Like, he doesn't know the kind of heinous workouts you design just for the sake of like work.
No, he's just looking at it just graphics that I send him for t-shirt, and the fact that when I talk to him about t-shirts and I make him send me 20 samples, and he's like, he's probably so fucking irritated. He admits, like, he likes that I'm involved in the process because he likes the design part, but he's like, nobody does that. And you're like,
yeah.
He's not even like, I'm not even a big person in his company, right? Like, there's people ordering 20,000 t-shirts from him for these events. And I'm like, can I get a couple hundred from my little business in Salt Lake? And so I think his perspective made me chuckle, because I was like, God, am I that fucking neurotic to everybody?
Well, so then what is the part that you, if work isn't the issue, what is, what are you attributing the laziness to, you think? Like, because maybe laziness is the wrong word.
It's digging out a hole I already dug.
Repetition. You don't want to be stuck in the same cycle again.
Yeah.
And
it feels stuck. In fact, I had a really weird dream last night. It's probably because of it. I was like trying to walk down this, like, it looked like how I would describe like a town in Alaska. I've never been to Alaska, but I imagine there's like, just a single row of a couple buildings, and then there like goes into the wilderness or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to like walk down this road, and there was like a snow leopard. And I was like, oh man, I probably don't want to go that way. And I knew I couldn't turn around and walk back because leopards attack you when you don't face them. So I was like keeping eye contact with it so it wouldn't move. And then I like bumped into something, and I turned around, and there was like a fucking bear. And I was like, Jesus, this is a really dangerous town. And I was like, I guess I can't go that way. And then I like looked straight ahead into the town, and all these wild animals just started like getting onto the road to block me. And I was like, I guess I can't go anywhere. And then I woke up, and I was like, I didn't feel, it was just there was all these things like just not letting me move. And I was like not threatened, but I was like really frustrated with it. It's kind of strange.
I don't know. We haven't talked a lot about this, I don't think, in much detail, but I've been slowly accepting and stepping into whatever fucking weird mystical thing that my life has been.
We'll just call it wizardry.
Yeah. And my immediate thought in that scenario was like, oh, dude, you got to follow the white leopard. Like immediately it was like, no, like the obvious thing is to go to the snow leopard.
Yeah,
like that's, which, you interpreted it as danger. And like, I wasn't there. I wasn't in your dream. So I don't know the vibes or the feelings. Right. And I can't say that if I saw a fucking snow leopard in a dream or in real life, I would do anything different
towards it.
But
so in that question, I think that's a really great actual perspective, because that is not something that I saw. Right. And I didn't have a strong feeling. I just saw the warning, and immediately maybe my natural reaction is to stay away from the most dangerous thing. And your thing from a guiding perspective is like, no, you got to head towards that thing because it's certain, like, you know what it is. You know, it's
because
dangerous.
I'd rather deal with the freaking snow leopard in front of me than the grizzly bear behind me. Fuck that.
Yeah.
You're already dead. If the grizzly bear is behind you and you turn around and it's there, game over. There is a possibility and honestly a likelihood, especially a snow leopard. Like, they're one of the most reclusive. It's weird that it was a snow leopard in Alaska.
It was weird. I'm not going to say that it was demographically or location accurate.
Well, sure.
It was 100% a snow leopard, though. It was like the most defining thing.
The absolute most reclusive animal, like one of them on the planet, right?
Let me see. This might be interesting. Let's visit
the totem spirit.
Let's fucking check out the.
Hey, Jamie, pull this up real quick. We're just Jamie. We don't have people helping. It's just us. Googling.
It's just us. I'm just Googling shit.
But like, they're gonna run from you. Like, yeah, they're not. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you saw it all is one thing, and then if you go towards it, that thing is gonna skedaddle.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But I think, my intuition tells me that a snow leopard is absolutely a spirit guide that's leading you somewhere. Like,
so what do you think? I mean, what is the direction of danger? Do I blow my life up? Because I feel like it. I feel like doing it. I feel like blowing stuff up, which is fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have a righteous, there's a righteous indignation with, the series of events to just like want to fucking burn it all to the ground. What does it say?
You're going to freak out. All right. So dreaming of a snow leopard is a striking encounter, as these animals carry an aura of profound silence, mastery, and isolation. Unlike big cats of the jungle that dominate through raw visible power, the snow leopard, often called the ghost of the mountain, rules through stealth, precision, and the ability to thrive in environments that would break others. In many mystical traditions, the snow leopard symbolizes the ultimate mastery of oneself in the face of absolute adversity. Because they inhabit the highest, most unforgiving terrain on earth, they're viewed as guardians of the root of the world. To see one in a dream often suggests a call to move through your own life with great economy of movement and intention. It isn't about being loud or seeking validation. It is about the quiet, calculated execution of your goals. This creature thrives in the shadows of the peaks, representing a form of agency that does not require an audience to be valid. Sovereignty and solitude. There's an inherent independence in the snow leopard that separates it from the pride-based behaviors of lions. It is the archetype of a sovereign individual. If you have been wrestling with the balance between public-facing work and your internal solitary development, this dream may be a reflection of that tension. It suggests that your truest power resides in your ability to remain self-contained. It invites you to embrace the solitude of your own path, recognizing that the most significant work is often done where no one else is watching, in the cold, thin air of your highest ambitions. Because this is fucking, like, what the fuck,
stupid, dude? What is even the fucking existence in reality?
Because these cats live at high altitudes, they're frequently associated with a shift in consciousness. In a dreamscape, climbing to such heights signifies moving beyond the clutter of day-to-day trivialities to gain a panoramic view of your trajectory. The snow leopard's presence here acts as a catalyst, urging you to detach from the noise of the valley and look at your challenges from a place of higher clarity. It is a reminder that while the path to your goals might be steep and cold, the view from the summit is where you define your own reality. Finally, the snow leopard is master of adaptation. Their thick fur, broad paws for navigating snow, and massive tails for balance demonstrate a perfect evolutionary fit for a hostile environment. Mystically, this speaks to resilience, not just the ability to endure suffering, but the ability to evolve alongside it. When the landscape of your life becomes harsh or unforgiving, the snow leopard serves as a totem for adapting your internal structure to match the external exchange, turning the difficulty itself into your primary advantage. Given that this imagery centers on mastery and isolation and high altitude navigation, does this dream feel like an alignment with your current focus or redefining your methodology? Bro, you know what I just took from that? 100%. I guess I have to get a snow leopard tattoo on my throat.
100%, obviously. Man, how do you like them apples?
This is so absurd.
It's the dumbest thing ever, man.
Dude, I'm not taking enough drugs right now for this to be what is happening.
You're welcome. I've been taking them for you, so here you
I
go.
know. I feel like you have. I feel like, yeah, you've been doing enough for both of us.
You did this. This is you. You didn't know. You didn't know you needed to turn me into whatever you helped me become to get the thing. I'm just like, oh, he's my friend. I'm going to introduce him to this thing. And like,
man, in the harshest, you talk about high altitude. You remember the second time we tripped?
Oh, dude.
Up that mountain? Yeah. That was fucking crazy.
Man, that is still easily one of my most profound experiences because it opened up so much to me about my internal state and like, holy fuck, man, I am creating my own reality. Like how easy it was for me to assume the worst. Because dude, I don't know if you remember, but like I thought that my life was over. I had ruined our friendship.
Sure.
Like
you went to the jungle and you're like, Sarah's mad at me because I went to the jungle for 3 months or something.
Yeah, I was like gone. Like, oh dude, everyone's been looking for me up in the mountains for 2 weeks. Like, and my business is gone, and like my wife is gonna divorce me, my kids are gonna disown me, like all my reputation, everything is just fucking gone. Like I broke my camera and now it's gonna cost me a shit ton of money. My business partner hates me. You're not my friend anymore because like I was that guy that fucking, apparently took mushrooms and wandered off and got lost. You're like, well, fuck, can't hang out with that dude anymore. Like all of the worst case scenario had like come down in that moment as we were walking down the path. And like, I don't know if you remember the moment where we were down climbing that. I don't know. It was probably like what, a 10-foot scramble, maybe, that like kind of wall that we had to climb up and then had to climb back down. And
oh God, it was like 30 feet.
Was it that much?
Oh yeah, it was a lot. Like it was the whole climb up there is probably like 400 meters.
I mean, that traverse was a lot, but there was like a
steep section,
scramble that was at least 10 or 15 feet tall, right?
You were not there. I was trying to hold your feet and have you downstep, and you were like trying to turn around and exit.
I couldn't see anything. Everything was black in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like there was just not the only thing that existed. And thank goodness, you and I have been working together on stuff for a while, and you had been emphasizing like breath work, like, and I don't think you had really gotten deep into breath work at that point. You were just kind of dabbling, but like you had conveyed enough that like it allowed me to just be in my body and recognize like, okay, I don't know what anything is right now. I can't see anything. I have to get down. I can hear your voice. All I can do is like feel my breathing and then feel the sensation of my muscles. And it's like, I just have to trust that. I just have to trust in the feeling. Like, I don't know how to coordinate. I can't think thoughts, but like, I can recognize that what a handhold feels like and what pressure and tension in my quad feels like. And then I'm just like listening and kind of feeling for you to guide me down. And dude, it was crazy. And
now look at you. Now you're doing it for other people.
Look at me now. Yeah. See, look what you started, man.
Sarah hates me.
No, she appreciates it. She doesn't agree to all of it because like, how do you explain the experience and walking a path like that you've walked, that I'm walking, that we're both really so walking? Because like the snow leopard just told you, hey man, you still got some shit to figure out apparently.
I know. Fuck. Apparently I'm going to, where are they out there? Like Tibet or something?
Yeah, man. You gotta go. Dude, I'm down.
I'm 100% down. I think what's weird is like I have been trying to isolate, and it really does bother me to like post shit and like keep the cycle going. And like, I know it's like a drip feed and it's all, quote unquote good, but man, is it energetically fucking, I hate it. Like, so I hate it. It costs a lot because, I hate the perception that I have like, oh, I have so much to teach people, or like, you know what I mean? Like I like talking to people. So a lot of the stuff that I post is just conversations that I have. Those are like the easiest thing for me to post because they're organic.
Yep.
I'm not going to sit down and be like, I'm going to teach you a thing or two. So it needs to be like an organic thing. But even that, just do you know what I feel like? we all are victims of. And unfortunately, the fact that I recognize it makes me an I'm even bigger of a putz because of it. I think social media has convinced us all to make our own like shitty version of a reality show and not get paid for it. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, you know how many people wanted to go on TV and they wanted to be on The Real World, or they wanted to be on like Road Rules Challenge or whatever. Even they made money, right? All these fucking people recording their like dances and like their fucking skits and their thing in hopes of getting what? A couple people to like their stuff? You're like, that's what you're going for? That is fucking crazy to me. And we're all doing it. We're all like, okay. Do you know what annihilated me the other day is I was like, you know, I posted a carousel or so. I've gone back to being like, I really just like still images and type of, I just want to be as fucking opposite of what they want me to do. But what I noticed is like, I don't know, 10 posts in a row were based, it was content that was based on making content. And I was like, what in the absolute fucking bullshit is this? The most successful content is teaching people how to make content. This is fucking ass backwards.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
100%.
Right?
It's a fun house of mirrors. And me being like, where the fuck is the exit? And then I keep bumping into the mirrors thinking like, you know, if I just bump harder, an exit will appear.
I'll get through. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I, and again, nothing that I'm doing would be considered successful in any kind of like conventional term or like metric, right? Like my following isn't growing. I'm not making a shit ton of money. You know, I'm not going viral on anything. But I'm still kind of semi-regularly putting things out there into the world. And I have kind of just resigned myself to do it as an artistic expression and stop doing it as any kind of like maybe there's something downstream that will be related to a business or something financial or lucrative. But like what I've started posting like, hey, I don't have the answers to anyone. No one is necessarily like, man, let me see what Josh Tyler has to say about this thing. Like no one's Googling my opinion on 100%. Anything whatsoever. Yeah. And I have no illusion of that, nor should they. Like, but what I started doing is like, man, things happen and I capture it in some way, whether it's a picture, whether it's a video, like, you know, I stopped making content. I just create. And then from whatever I have, then a story will unfold. And whether that's something that I attach to it after the fact, because it creates some epiphany as I'm looking at the video, or what it makes me write something. And then I need, you know, a something visual to go along with it. But like the story of the deer that I rescued, dude, I don't think I told you. I don't know if you saw the baby deer that I brought back out of the woods.
Oh, dude, yeah. Of course I saw it. It's fucking. Do you know what I thought it was? I was like, oh, this is one of those fucking AI stories where like I saved this baby deer and then his whole family came back to be my friend and live in my apartment or whatever. Which,
dude, I wish. That would be amazing. Deep down inside, there was kind of well, first of all, I didn't know what was happening. Like all I heard was screaming in the woods. I'm like, uh-oh. There's an animal out there. Let me go check it out. And I just, you know, from the direction it was coming from, I thought that maybe it just caught in one of the fences, right? Yeah. So I'm like, all right, I got to untangle this deer so it doesn't kill itself, or animal. But it was loud, so I figured it was bigger than a rabbit. And so as I'm walking up, I can see some commotion. I can hear right where it's coming from. And as it comes into view, a fox pops its head up and like lets go of the deer's neck and then starts like walking away. And I was like, oh shit. And so the deer kind of flails a little bit. Yeah. The fox stops, turns around and like looks at me and gives me kind of a like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, and you ruined my lunch.
I ruined his lunch, right? And so then here's this baby deer, and I'm like, all right, let me see if it, I don't know. I mean, they don't usually like being attacked by foxes. So I'm assuming that this probably kind of messed up, and I might have to either put it out of its misery or, see if I can help it. So anyway, I walk over, it spooks, it tries to get up and run. And you can see in the video, it's scrambling and just like flopping and falling over. Yeah. It's pretty fucked up. So I go, I pick it up, and it's like 1,000,000 degrees. Like that deer had to be like 120.
Overheating.
Oh, it was so hot. And anyway, I don't have to. So now I'm holding this deer. Well, what am I going to do with it? Well, let me check it. I guess now that I'm holding it, I'm going to take it up to the house and, see if maybe I can get it some water. Plus the kids will want to see it.
Yeah.
We get it calmed down. I wanted to keep it, but Sarah's like, we can't keep a baby deer. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I feel like we can. She's like, no, that's actually a federal offense. I'm like, only if anybody finds out.
It's the most Josh and Sarah conversation. Can we do this, babe?
Can we keep it? So she ruins my fantasy of being a Disney princess, which, happens. And so I take it out there after it's calmed down, like its heart rate. Dude, that thing was its heart was screaming. Like I was holding it. Yeah. When I picked it up, it had to be easy, like 130, 150, just like, it feels like it's going to pound out. So it calmed down. It cooled off. I took it back out in the woods, and it just, kind of went off. And so I wrote this, and I felt inspired. I was like, oh man, this is really cool. I got some pictures of it. What's the meaning of this story? Like, what's my takeaway? Right. And what is useful that someone else could take away other than like, hey, check out this deer. Right. And so the thing that I wrote, I just, the title, I just called it Saved. And as I was writing and telling the story, what I realized is like, man, how often are we afraid to just like cry out in the worst scenario? Like, dude, that thing was fucking dead. It didn't stand a chance.
For sure. And
it's crying out. And if it hadn't, it would still be there lying and being eaten by the fox and the rest of its family. Right.
Yeah.
But instead, in desperation, this thing cried out, and something came totally unexpected. It doesn't know what a human is. And in fact, if it does, humans have a negative connotation. But this thing came and rescued it and saved it. Now, I like to believe that it wandered off and found its mom, and it's happily ever after.
Just got attacked by a fox 2 seconds.
It could have just gotten murdered, as soon as I left the woods. I don't know. But the story I tell myself is it went off in the direction that the mom went off in. Yeah. So like, I'm assuming that everything's good in the world. But the whole reason I shared it and posted it was because like, man, how many people are out there in just what feels like the absolute worst scenario within the jaws of death? Right, they're trapped under this fucking 300-pound black belt getting mauled, or they're getting murdered by this thing, and all they need to do is to cry out and say, "Hey, help me!" Right, and have faith that might actually do something. And I think in our lives, we've maybe done that in the past, and nothing changed, and so we're disinclined to do it again. But that doesn't mean that we should stop. And so the whole reason I wrote this was not to like teach anybody anything, or that I have some, lesson to give, other than like to show an example of, hey man, sometimes help does arrive in a way that you would never even imagine it. And what I hope is maybe that inspires someone who's going through something really shitty that they don't think they can get out of, to just, let somebody know. And I think I told you the first time we sat with ayahuasca, dude, I was struggling, man. I was holding on for dear life. And like, I was like, dude, I'm going to have to tap. Like I had that thought. And then the medicine's like, hey dude, you can't tap. There is no tap out. And I was like, fuck,
shit.
Well, dude, I can't handle this. Like what's going to happen to me? And I was like, dude, I need to ask for help. And I was like, but I can't. I don't want to ruin anybody's experience. I don't want to be that guy. And it was, and I remember at the beginning, they were like, hey, if you need help with anything, just ask somebody. And I'm like, they told you to help and you still won't fucking ask for help. Man, what does that say about me? And so finally I leaned over to it was Sam sitting next to me. I was like, hey man, I don't know that I need you to do anything. I just need to let you know that I need some help. And he's like, oh, okay, like go into the bathroom and I'm like, no, this is really hard. And he's like, yeah, man, it's like that sometimes. And he's like, is there anything I can do? And I was like, actually, I think I'm okay. Like immediately upon just saying I need help, dude, it dissipated. And the rest of the night was like the most blissful, beautiful experience. I mean, imagine being just in like the worst, most uncomfortable trip. And then at the flip of a switch, it's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I love every second of this. Why don't I do this all the time?
You were that baby deer.
I was. And I think we're all that baby deer sometime.
And then instantly you were in Josh's arms, but you were you.
I was me. Yeah.
Dude, that's actually, I mean, it was a fantastic event and story that went along with it. Immediately, Erin was jealous.
Yeah.
Because
she was mad.
Wants a baby deer.
She didn't say it, but she was disappointed that I didn't get more pictures. And in hindsight, I should have, but it didn't feel like the right opportunity for like I asked Sarah to get one, but to get her to do a bunch of photo ops and stuff when like I probably needed to get this thing back out and reunite it with his mom. Be like, hold on, dear, I don't care about your livelihood. Now I got to do it for the gram.
Followers that want to know my story.
They need to know. Dude, its little tiny feet were so like they're like soft.
How old was it? It had to be like a day old or something, right?
No, no, it was born this spring. It's a few months.
Okay.
Old. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't just born. Because it's a little late, I think, in the season. I think it's not calving, but I think they have them, in the spring.
Interesting.
And like I said, crazy.
That fucking fox is. And this is the weird part. It's like that fox probably starved to death. No.
Maybe. Well, dude, there were people that are super pissed. Like some woman's like, no surprise, the lady's name is Karen, and she was like.
You intervened in nature.
You intervened in nature. And it's like, and I was like, I mean, yeah.
I am nature, bitch.
Yeah. Well, like, to a degree, we kind of are. But then she's like, well, there's a reason why the rangers in Yellowstone don't interrupt anything like that. And I'm like, except for when they do, and they reintroduce wolves back into the fucking ecosystem and all the other times that they do things.
There's also a reason why you're not a ranger. You're a human, and you just saw something and you get in the way of it. You're like, should we say the same thing when like, well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, the reply was like, well, to be fair, you're probably right. And if fox had your throat, I would let it finish. Fucking Karen.
Yeah. I mean, where do we draw the line? Right.
Yeah.
Like we are nature, and I didn't go looking to say, oh, I better stop this fox. Right.
No.
And I
just stopped.
I didn't shoo the fox away. I heard something. I went to and some guy was like, another guy was like, hunter and farmer here. You deprived that den of valuable nutrients and training experience. And so I just responded. I was like, if we're giving out resumes, like professional fighter and father of young children here, I heard screaming in the woods, so naturally I went to go investigate. And I saw a helpless animal in danger, so I intervened to try and help it. I'm confident the fox is probably going to be okay. And if the fox isn't okay, then I feel like my neighbors' chickens and geese will be very appreciative that, like, people kill foxes all the time. Like,
oh, totally. Brandon killed one the other day. He shot one with an arrow because it killed his geese.
Right? Like. Yeah.
That was like a retribution kill too. It wasn't even an intervention. He saw his geese was dead, and he went and got his bow, and he went out and found it and fucking shot it through the eye. I was like, Jesus,
it's so fucking bad.
Like, I fucking love my geese, and that fox was killing them.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and who are we to decide that like what gets to live and what gets to die? And it's like, I don't know, man. How do I get to decide which grass in my yard, like, gets to live, and which parts I'm going to till up and plant tomatoes?
Dude, I am totally open to some misunderstood unknown being coming into my life and saving me from an attack on the throat. Like, I would be super pumped.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And also, if somebody interrupted me trying to fucking gut somebody, I'd be like, ah, motherfucker. But like, it goes both ways.
It goes, yeah. I'm like, it's no different than, I mean, here's the other thing too. Dude, the fox, you have no business eating a deer. Like, there are like, come on, man.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that thing? Like, you bit off way more than you could chew. Not to say that he couldn't have done something with it, but like, dude, there's mice and rabbits and there's so many other things that you could eat. Like,
for sure. Yeah. That's probably not on his normal diet. I'm thinking like a fox is a little bit small to be taking down deer unless they're babies or like opportunistically.
Well, yeah, and it was, but here's the thing, like it couldn't kill that deer like it could kill something else. It was sitting there just holding the thing. There was like a slight scratch on its ear. There was no puncture whatsoever. Like, all it was going to do is just choke it and suffocate it. Either the baby would die of a heart attack or heat exhaustion, or a combination of all of the above. And it's like,
that's kind of crazy. I feel like I'm that fox and I have my, not sharp teeth around my goals.
And you're just gnawing.
And some asshole keeps coming in and interrupting me.
No.
Oh man, we didn't even get to. I wanted to talk about that AI thing, but we went off on the left hand. We'll have to do the AI thing maybe.
Yeah, we can do that for sure, man. Absolutely, dude.
Awesome. Well, let's do this. Let's do this again. This is pretty fun.
Yeah, I love it, man.